Hi, I'm Tom Alibrando with IWI. We're going to discuss how to remove the barrel on the SAR. It's different from the X95. Again, there's a lot of aftermarket parts for the platform. Some folks want to pull the barrel off, just get under there and clean it maybe once a year. It's not converting it left to right. You need a separate bolt for that. But we are talking about, if you've got that aftermarket thing you want to put on there, how to do that and how to do it without scratching up your gun or damaging it in any way. So the first thing we're going to do before we actually work on the gun, we're going to clear it, make sure it is empty, weapon is clear. Remember to work that charging handle always aggressively. And with the bolt forward, we're going to get rid of the bolt group. And if you've seen the X95 video, this is basically the exact bolt group that's in an X95. It disassembles the same way. It's just that the body of it looks different on the outside. So let's talk about removing the barrel. A little bit more in depth on a SAR, okay? You have to remove the Picatinny rail on top, take it apart. So first things first, there's 2 screws right on top. We're going to get rid of those screws. Now, what I generally will tell you to do, it's 4mm screw, is when I remove the rail, I leave the screws, and there's actually a locking washer in there. I leave that in there as well, just so I don't lose anything. I'm going to pull them out to put blue Loctite on them before I reinstall them. But for the most part, I pull these out, and then the rail is going to actually pop off from front to rear. It's actually held in place at the very front. There's a little lip that it sinks into. So you pull up and then kind of back, and you'll see that little interface at the front. I'm going to set the rail off to the side, and we're good to go. Okay. Now, I kick the charging handle back early on just because I want to get the charging handle out of my way, and you're going to see why that's very important. I'm going to take a small punch, and on the right side, we call it a mushroom, there's a hitch pin on the right side. You're going to have to remove the sling swivel, which can be flipped, but you're going to remove the sling swivel that's right at the waist of the gun. I'm going to pull that hitch pin out. I'm going to put it in a place where I'm not going to lose it. And you can take a chamber flag, or actually the best thing to use is a sling swivel attachment, and you're going to put it on the sling swivel on the other side, and I'll explain why in a second. But I'm going to put the chamber flag in, and I'm going to just turn the mushroom, okay, where it backs off. So the reason we use that chamber flag, and you'll see here in a minute, and the alignment of the screw inside the actual cup of the sling swivel attachment has to stay compressed together. Otherwise, the screw will come out of alignment, and then you just turn the screw, and you won't actually take the mushroom off. So there it is. Now, if you have the sling swivel attachment, it's very easy. You just pull on the other side, and this whole cup will come out. If you don't have the sling swivel attachment, okay, you're going to take a flathead screwdriver, you're going to come in underneath it, and you can see the cup from the inside, and what you're going to do is you're going to push and pop it out, okay? And this whole assembly will come out kind of in one piece, but it's actually 2 pieces. And we'll get a close-up of this in a bit, but there's a flat side to this, and there's the interfaces with flat sides on the inside of the cup. These are going to stay together. So that's your sling swivel attachment piece that's got to come off if you're going to remove the rail, and certainly if you're going to remove the barrel. Okay. Now on the opposite side, or on the right and left side, you're going to see 2 Phillips screws, and very simply, going to come in and pull the Phillips screws off. And once I get it started, it comes off. Now when you have yours, and if it's newer or this hasn't been done, they're going to feel resistance, and that's because we slather it in blue Loctite, and you'll do that again when you put these on too, blue Loctite on everything. And then very simply, you're going to grab the fore end and you're going to pull down and forward, and it comes off. There's a little tab, a bent tab at the bottom, which interlocks with the body right at the top of the trigger guard, basically, right here. And pull that off, get rid of it. Now, you're going to have to pull the charging handle assembly off. This is very important. The charging handle has to be out of the gun before you turn the bolt lock, same as the X95, because it abuts up against the charging handle. So if you turn the bolt lock with the charging handle in, you're going to crunch it and possibly crunch a gas cylinder. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to push the charging handle all the way to the rear, and you're going to have the belly, I call this the belly of the gun, facing away from you. You're going to reach up with your 3 fingers, from your middle finger to your pinky finger on each side of these wings, and you're going to pry those apart, and you take your index fingers and you're going to push on the little U-shaped part there. And then what you're gonna do is once you get it there, it comes off. Now the reason I'm pushing up and then forward is I don't want to drag that U across the barrel and scratch the barrel. And the other thing that'll happen is you'll hit the flash suppressor and you'll be like, oh, I don't know how to get it off. Well, you have to lift it up to get it out of the weapon. So it's easier just to do it at the back, pry it up, and then pull it out. Now, we have this out, right? So now I can pull the bolt lock or the barrel out of here. So the barrel lock has this little tang. It's the exact same barrel lock the X95 uses. There's no difference in these two. So you're gonna have to push on it to unlock it out of that locking groove. Okay, on the left side, you have to push on it. At the same time, you have to get your handy dandy barrel wrench, which if you've had a bolt conversion, you'll get sent one of these. It's gonna go in the right side. You have an L and an O for locked and open. I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna use that crutch method. I'm gonna stick the stock under my armpit. I'm gonna push this against the table or whatever I'm working on, workbench. I'm gonna push that lever on the opposite side, pull on the bolt lock, and once it gets started and this tongue comes out of that groove, I don't have to mess with it anymore. I can just turn this until it's in the open position. You see the white line position to open, and I grab the barrel and I just pull it out, and that's it. Now I've got the barrel out of the gun. Now you can do what you need to do to the gun, no issue. While you have it at this point, it's never a bad idea to take like a 12 gauge brush or a 410 brush and scrub out the gas cylinder that's right here. That's easy enough. It's one of those things that you don't need to remove this or go down this far for maintenance on it. You can use just a brush from behind and do regular field stripping. If the gas cylinder, you see how it kind of moves and it can come out, okay? If you run a brush through there, you may pop it out, and that's okay. That's no big deal. It's supposed to do that. You're also going to notice that it's got this extra piece on the front of it, and that cutout is for the charging handle to go through when it's in the gun. The reason this piece is here and it's not just open on both sides is it keeps debris from getting down into the gun. So that slot is specifically cut for the charging handle and to kind of seal that part of the gun. So that's what that's doing right there. If you do pull it out and you want to clean it, no problem. Push it back in again. And what you're going to do is, you'll notice there's a raised portion at this location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down in here, and I'm going to make sure that this piece here doesn't turn, so it's got to stay in alignment so it goes in the gun properly. There it goes. I'm going to bring it in from the top and in front of there, and I'm going to bring it down. I have to press it in there just a little bit, and then it'll drop right back into place and you're good to go. Now you remember, you need to have that spacer in there, or that block. It's got to face the correct way for the charging handle. Now, pull the barrel out, put it back in. I'm going to realign it, drop it in, and I want to, remember, press it down as far as it'll go. And with that crutch method, that's going to kind of guarantee that it stays seated. I'm going to take the barrel lock wrench, put it in, and I'm going to have it facing up. Down, took it apart, up, puts it back together again. I get it up, I get it started, and I'm going to feel it bite. And once it does that, and I feel it bite, I just start to turn it till I hear a click. And now you notice that tongue has dropped down into that groove, and you're good to go, okay? So no worries on that. Part done. All right, now I got to reinstall this guy right here, cocking handle. Now, you'll notice on the barrel, there are these wings that are here, okay? And on the charging handle, you'll notice there is a lever hanging down. This lever pushes against the opposite wing. So it's very important when you reinstall this, the charging handle's all the way to the rear. If you have it forward and you put it in, what'll happen is this lever will get in front of the wing and you won't be able to move the charging handle. So you want to drop it down all the way. It helps you align it. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring that down. It's going to go into the hole that it came from, whence it came, okay? And with the charging handle all the way to the rear, once we get the rod in place, I'm going to lift the actual cocking assembly up. So it's sort of hinged in here, and it's like a car hood. It's open, right? And this is the hinge point. And then I'm going to reverse the order. Instead of having my fingers push up on that U-bolt that went across it, I'm going to grab these 3 fingers. I'm going to pry it open. I'm going to push down with my thumbs till it goes into that slot, and it'll kind of pop into place. And you're not going to hurt this, guys. This is springy stuff. You're not going to break it. If you do, then you really crank like a banana. You peeled it open, so don't do that. But you can peel it back pretty wide. Now, once that's in place, I have two choices. I can reinstall this, the actual sling swivel attachment, or I can put this in place. Personally, I like to put this in place because it holds everything where I want it to be. I don't have to fight it. So I'll drop the handguard in, push it up into the lock position there. Blue Loctite, put the Phillips screws on, turning, turning, turning. Get one on. I'm going to get them relatively tight, but not crazy tight. Okay. Turn it around, push that back in. Get that in, good to go. Okay. Now that's one side, the other side, this is back in place. Now this is very important. If you look inside the sling swivel cup, you're going to notice two small on either side detents that are sticking out. They happen to match the detents that are actually right on the gas cylinder at the top of the gas bridge here. So, and you'll also notice that there's a flat spot on the screw. Let me show that to you one more time. There's a flat spot on the screw, and it interfaces inside the cup in a very particular way. And when I drop it down, see how it kind of drops down? Pop. Now it's in place. So you need a sling swivel attachment in there, or I can take my chamber flag and I'm going to hold it like a syringe, just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to align those tabs so this won't turn. I'm going to push it in from one side to the next, kind of turn this so it locks in place. Hang on. So it falls in, there it goes. Now I push it through. Now I've got to push everything through, and the actual sling swivel attachment has to be flush, so this protrudes enough on the other side to adequately, hold everything together. There's a hole on the opposite side, and it's got to face in the up and down position. If you guys can see that, it's right there. Okay. I'm going to take the mushroom, put it in. I'll turn the mushroom down. And I'm going to keep turning it till it's kind of tight, but I actually want this slot facing up and down. That way I can return the hitch pin to where it needs to go. And it's going to go right in here. Now that locks it in place. This actually moves a little bit when it's firing, so that keeps that from unscrewing. Push the charging handle forward. Grab the rail. I put blue Loctite on the screws. I put it in from the front. I drop it down. It's going to settle in. Grab a 4mm wrench, and I screw down the top two Allen screws. And again, if I've got a regular Allen wrench, just be careful to use the small end, not the big end, because you can really crank on it and maybe snap those screws. Okay. Now I'm almost done. Got to pull or put the bolt assembly back in. Comes from top to bottom. Close the door. You'll know you got the charging handle, everything in right if it just drops right in. It only goes together one way. If you do something wrong, it's not going to work. Charge it a couple times aggressively to make sure it feels right. Yep, we already know the weapon's clear because we're working on an armorer's bench. Weapon's on safe. Do your function test. Attempt to fire. I got nothing. Put it on fire. Press the trigger. Hold the trigger to the rear. Rack the bolt aggressively. Slowly release the trigger. And there it is. Now the weapon's functioning. So that is how to remove the barrel on the SAR. A little bit more complex, but still not difficult to do. You just got to follow the steps, do it, in a procedure. And remember to remove that charging handle before you turn the barrel lock, okay? If you have the barrel lock in the open position, you try and put the charging handle back in, it's going to hit the barrel lock. It won't go down. It's not going to break anything. It's just something to pay attention to. Make sure that this is on L locked. before you attempt to put the charging handle in. Everything else just falls into place. Hopefully that helps you guys, and I'm Tom Alibrando with IWI. If you have any questions, look us up at iwi.us.